Hello everyone! So today I'm going to be filming something that's actually way different than what I usually film, as you can probably tell from the title and thumbnail, but I would like to share some of my, a lot of these are actually favorites too, but just anime that I was able to binge in 2 days easily. Not admittedly, to binge something 2 days, 1 to 2 days, you have to literally do nothing but watch the anime, but if you're looking for something to binge, here is my top 40 that I picked that I think are worth watching. Some of these, I know some people like really hate a few of these titles, but I thought they were interesting and different from some of the other titles in their same genre. So the first one we have is Snow White with the Red Hair, which I believe has been talked about quite a bit already, but I'm just gonna say it again anyways. It's really good. It's about, I think her name's Shiraishi. Correct me if I'm wrong, but anyways, the main girl has red hair. I haven't watched that anime in years, so I'm trying to remember what the plot's like. I remember she's trying to go to a new kingdom, and she gets attacked like by bandits or something like that, and the kingdom she's going to, she runs into the prince of there, and she becomes friends with the prince, and yada yada. It's a shoujo manga if you also want to read the manga, because the anime is not done. So, if you just want something that's in another world, not isekai genre, just fantasy, pretty lighthearted, happy, just watch it. My second pick here is the first season of Date A Live. I felt was extremely easy to binge. I didn't even really realize I was pretty much done with it the day I was watching it, and I was already on the 8th episode, and I was like, how did that happen? Date A Live takes the usual harem theme to a different level, because it's not like your slice of life thing that like every other visual novel anime adaptation is, where this also does have a visual novel, and it's got a couple light novels, might be a manga too, but the girls are part the harem inadvertently. They're all what they call spirits, and they have powers that effectively can wipe out human civilization if they so wish to. And the goal is that the main guy is going to seal away all their powers, so they're not going to become accidental nuclear weapons, and so another organization does not try killing them all. This is not quite so light, happy. Like, it's got some happy moments, but it's not a super duper happy series. So if you want something more serious, I definitely suggest this, because it's just different. And next, if you want something that in the second season gets more serious, check out Noragami. That's about a god that ends up meeting a human girl who isn't supposed to really notice him, but she ends up noticing him, and afterwards she continues to hang out with him because she paid him 5 yen, which is the equivalent to making a wish in Japan with the gods, to fix her condition. And they continue to hang out. Obviously, he does not fix her condition, since we have a season 2, and more recently there was a season 3 finally announced, and the manga's like up to books 26 or something like that. But, so it's got a lot of seriousness in it, but it also has a bunch of just hilarious parts in it too. And this is definitely a series I strongly encourage. Please watch this in sub. A couple of the characters I know would be butchered in English. Well, dub. And that's not to be like anything against like the dub voice actors. Like, don't get me wrong, like, they do good, cool work, and like, respect that. But like, the characters, for what they are intended to sound like in Japan, really fit them very well. And for this series, it is, I feel like it's very important to their character to have the voice actors they have. Specifically, Yato's the main one. I'm concerned about them messing up in English, which is the god, and his voice actor, I'm blanking on his name, but it's Levi's Japanese voice actor. So I know, probably does not sound like that'd be him, because he's really goofy, but when he gets serious, you can hear the Levi voice. Anyways, random rant, but that one and this next one I suggest is also another one you should watch in sub, which is The Devil's a Part-Timer. This just had its season 2 finish up in the simulcasting, which my list here says technically I binged season 1, because I was unable to binge season 2 because I literally was watching it every single Thursday it came out. So that was not an option for me, but I feel it is very easy to binge both seasons together. There's, I think, like a slight time skip, kind of, but it's not really too noticeable. And the second season does actually cover some more of like what the heck's going on in the background, which I thought was really nice that we're finally getting more of the world building. And the next season is also going to be getting a season 3 for this as well. I think it's the winter one. Well, after 2023 it's supposed to get, so fingers crossed it's the next season. See, another thing that comes from, honestly, I just realized that all of this stuff comes out like in the same time frame. A lot of it's like, I picked like 2010-ish, like early 2010s time frame. So I guess check out all this older stuff. But the next one I have here is Madoka Magica. I am referring to just the main TV series. I mean, I am the psycho that admittedly, like, have been watched this repeatedly with the movies as well. But I feel like the TV series is enough to be binge-worthy. And if you want a dark magical girl show, here it is. I'm not really going to talk about it more because even though it is one of my top favorite animes, there's so many analysis places that, like, have talked about Madoka so much. And I'm sure, like, just about everyone's heard of Madoka. If you haven't seen it yet, just try it at least, please. Also, please watch that one in Japanese. Just please. Honestly, I should just say for this entire list, I feel like all of these animes should be watched in Japanese if they have a dub as an option. Like, ignore the dub, please. Just ignore the dub. Next I have on here is Battle Athletes. This is actually way older. This is from 1985. And the plot line follows Akari, our main character. Our heroine is always wanted to join it's effectively like an Olympics team kind of, but really extreme with the feats that they do for like super strength. But it's at the end of the goal with the group and the school she's trying to get into. Once you've achieved a certain level, you can then join a contest, and then out of that contest you can maybe get picked as the winner. It's kind of like Miss Universe kind of thing with that aspect. I'm doing a really horrible summary here, but bear with me. But if you want sports anime, this is definitely a sports anime. I'm not much of a sports anime fan, but I thought I really enjoyed it just because it was different. Like, this is still Earth it focuses on, but it's a definitely different kind of Earth because the school that she goes to is literally in space. What she wants to go to, sorry. The school that she wants to go to is in space, and the exams that the series starts on, that she's trying to get into the school for, is literally in Antarctica, which obviously there's no snow, so that's kind of weird. But they like do all these superhuman feats, and there's some really messy background info too, so if you want a few things that will like drive you nuts with trying to figure out character relationships, that one can definitely get a little confusing sneakily. But it's good. I really enjoyed it. It's not overly serious, but it's not like 100% happy-go-lucky either, so it's good for in the middle. And that opening song is just one of my favorites as well, and I love Akari. She's the classic heroine from that time frame of anime. But I think it also has a lot of good life lessons in it too, so I think overall that's also another good reason to want to watch it. Next I have up is an anime that's based off an otome game, which is called Kamigami no Asobi. The anime is about a girl, once again, in Japan. She's like 16 or something. She's in high school. And her family is a bunch of shrine keepers, and one day she goes into the shed, and I believe it's a sword she finds in a box that has a seal on it, and she pulls it off because she's trying to figure out what it is, like everyone else. And then she ends up being sucked into another world, but it's kind of like a pocket dimension world. It's not literally like another isekai, but pocket dimension. And in that pocket dimension, there's like 7 gods in there as well that are trapped with her. And they're all trapped together because Zeus's goal is to make the other gods learn how to have like human emotions and more of like a human heart. Because some of them are going to have really bad consequences if they don't figure out how to do that. And he's trying to stop that. Of course, he comes off as a jerk like a lot. At the end of the anime, you finally get what's up, like his deal is, but he's not very likable in that. There's a couple other characters in there too that the first time you watch it, like, you're gonna be like, why do people like these characters? And then when you watch it again, you're gonna notice like every 5 seconds, like, the differences of their interactions, like why they were doing certain things. So there's a lot of just really good character development in there, and it's just interesting to watch the gods progress with the girl, and she has a name, I'm just blanking on her name, but it's interesting to watch them grow all together and just overall make like connections that like in another world they would have never done so, and kind of breaching their differences. Next one is My Little Monster, which is another slice of life. School bad boy is, forget like how they even met, but there's the bookworm girl, or nerd effectively, and they end up becoming friends kind of, but she's like effectively not like his masters in a weird way, but just like keeps him on a leash from going like crazy and being disruptive and whatnot in the school. So they've got like a funny little dynamic with them over time, and there does end up becoming a romance. I believe the manga does go past what the anime covered, and that's not all of it, but it's just really cute. If you want something a little different than the other slice of lives, it's definitely a little bit different and is pretty happy. The next one I have on here is Alone the Sea, which is one of my personal favorites. I've watched way too many times, but it's about these 4 children that live in the sea, and they're just part of what they call the sea people, which are all people who can live underwater as easy as being on land for us. And the 4 children have to go above the water because their school no longer is going to be running underwater, so they have to join the human school on land. So we get to see kind of the differences between humans and then the sea people, and the class trying to reach their differences. And later on they do come together to work towards a common goal of getting an event running, and they end up all befriending each other. And it's another pretty light, happy one. There is some really sad moments in it too. And the second, I think it's probably technically like 1 season, but the second half of the show does take on a darker tone because of some of the events at the end of the first season. So it does have a very interesting dynamic between like the seriousness and other elements. If you like Studio Ghibli films, this is probably going to be a favorite for you because it is just so inspired, or at least really similar to that genre of films. Or like if you enjoyed Weathering with You and that kind of thing, like, go check it out. Next we have here is C3, which finally got it on Crunchyroll, which is typical because I just bought it so I could own it, and then it showed up on Crunchy. But its full name is Cube X Curse X Curious. Assuming you read the X's, I don't really know anymore if the X's are part of the titles or not. But that one's about a girl that has been alive for thousands of years. She's not actually really a girl, she's more like a piece of machinery. But her role for this whole time has been to be the death penalty for people in different civilizations. And ultimately her goal is to become human, but there's another organization that wants her to keep being the way she is, which can go a little bloodthirsty and psycho when she's not calm or she's become like triggered by something that happened. And the good guys, effectively, who she's going to make it so that she can become more human like she wants to, and be able to enjoy life instead of having to deal with the trauma of killing all of those people and not being able to step away a little bit from those sins. Next on we have is I think a lot of people know this shoujo manga, but it's Yona the Daon. I probably don't need much explanation about it, Arvin. I believe she's 16. Yona is the princess of the realm, and on her birthday, she ends up being casted out. And she does have a death penalty, but her captain of the guard and a friend helped her sneak out. And she continues to travel with her captain of the guard, and they go to search for the legendary 4 dragons of the king that had made the country that they're in. So it follows that. There's a lot of like secrets in the background. Like I was like, holy. The anime does not quite cover them all because there's simply way too much in it to even cover. The anime gets about like volume 8 of the manga, which now we're on like volume 36. So this one, like, you have to watch this one in Japanese, or at least the last episode of the TV series, because please, one of the dragons, she does meet them all, but one of them, actually several of them, would be horribly butchered in a dub. This is one of the newest things on the list, and is The Demon Girl Next Door, which has a season 2. Hopefully it'll get off of High Dive at some century so the rest of us can watch it. But it's a comedy, and it's absolutely hilarious because it's technically a magical girl, but the magical girl's the opposing girl, and I believe the main girl's name is Yuko, which I forget what day it is, if it's even a special day, or just one day she wakes up and she has demon horns and a demon tail. And come to find out her family is a long line of demons, and in order to break the curse, she has to kill a magical girl and blood to the ancestor statue to break the curse. And there's just this funny dynamic between like the girls not understanding like one another. The magical girl that she goes after is also like a brute for whatever reason, so it gives a funny tone to the show as well with that. And there's just a lot of comedy, and it's super happy-go-lucky. One point, the magical girl gets sick, so the demon girl comes over to help her, even though really she should have not, to accomplish her goal. But the demon girl goes over, and she's trying to take care of her. And the magical girl has a cat that is supposed to talk more, but all he says now is just, "The time have come." So there's like funny stuff like that. And they just end up becoming friends. I don't know what season 2 is going to be like, because the series did end with some question marks about like what's actually going on in the background, because there's some people that are missing that got revealed on why they're missing. So I'm intrigued to see where this goes. 13 I have is Chobits, another favorite of mine. This one's by Clamp. If you've heard of any Clamp works, you probably want to turn in the other direction, start screaming, because this one gets sad, like everything else that they do. To be fair, most of it's actually pretty, well, no, I take that back. It is not happy-go-lucky. The main girl, Chi, is what they call Posacom, which is a robotic doll that's human, and I can walk, breathe, blah, 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 eat. But she was found in a trash pile, literally, by the main guy, and he brings her home, and she continues to live with him from that point, and her whole existence is a mystery, because no, like, shop owner, or no matter how much research he does online, cannot tell him what exactly she is. She's an extremely mysterious doll that no one knows much about, other than a few legends. 14 is The Order of Rabbit. I have season 1 down because that was what I had binged in the 1 to 2 day time bracket. But the rest of it is easily bingeable too, and it is just, there's no plot here. If you want something with plot, please don't pick this anime. But this plotless anime is just simply about the main girl, Coco, goes to another town studying abroad and ends up living in Chino, which is the blue-haired girl's family's shop, the coffee shop, and they become friends, and she becomes friends with a couple of the other neighboring girls, and it's just their everyday lives working in the coffee shops, and just the random banter and what other random stuff is going on. 15 is Quintessential Quintuplets. I have season 1 down because, once again, that's what I did in the time period. This one's another slice of life. There's a lot of slice of life on here, admittedly. But this one's about 5 sisters that are doing so badly in school that they need a personal tutor, and Futaro, the main guy, is picked to be that person for them. And it is his job to get them to all pass without failing. So he's got to get them all in shape. 16, we have Rent a Girlfriend, and I'd like to say this is not what you think it's about. Let me just state that. My second point about this is based off of Japan's system of, like, being able to rent a boyfriend, girlfriend, friend, grandparent, blah, 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 blah. The list goes on of, like, whoever this person could be, but their job is simply to be rented out for, like, company. If you need companionship, you can rent these people out for companionship. That is what this series is about, is the service of girlfriends you can rent to be as a companion. That is it. There's not exactly the other service you're thinking of. Yes, the main guy has lewd thoughts and it does get shown on the TV, but that's not the service. But anyways, main guy, blanking on the main guy's name, but I find he's really likable, and he actually has some good character development throughout the series, and actually develops somewhat of a spine instead of being like wishy-washy and being like pushed around. But there is also, if you like to watch love octagons, this one's a good show because there's definitely the love octagon here. He's got an ex-girlfriend that dumped him, but she's really possessive actually of him in the background, kind of stalking him at times. Actually, there is no kind of, she's definitely a stalker. And then we have a younger girl who's infatuated with him and won't let him go, and is semi-stalker, but also loves to twist things to her advantage and make a lot of misunderstandings, and overly possessive of him. And we have a third girl that is not actually in love with him at the start of the series, but it gets complicated because he introduced her to his grandmother as his girlfriend, so they have to pretend to be girlfriend-boyfriend for their grandparents, because his grandmother is also friends with her grandmother, and they don't want one another to find out if that's actually fake, so they have to keep that all under wraps. And we have a fourth girl that is semi-interested, or at least it shows that it makes it look like she's interested in him as a romantic love interest, but she's incredibly shy and has a hard time of even talking to strangers. So she tries to, throughout the series, be able to actually talk to him, which she does actually make progress. So there's a lot of characters in this series that make progress, and I like seeing the character development in all of them. And it's a slice of life. These are not high schoolers for once, they're actually college students. So I find that also kind of a fresh take on slice of life, because everything else is high school, and like, no offense to it, but like everything is high school. Like, can we have something different? So this was nice. Next one I have on here is I put Tokenranbu Kaguseki. You could watch the Hanamaru series, but for the purpose of this video I chose Kaguseki because this one focuses seriously on the swords of famous samurai in Japan, are human people in this, and in this season of anime they are focusing seriously on constantly being on missions and trying to save history from being destroyed from what they call the retrograde army, who is trying to alter the way that history happened to whatever their advantage is, with no one has figured out exactly what their goal is, other than to mess up history and not make things happen the way they should have. So they're the protectors of history, and it follows things that they have to do to protect history, but also it explores a pair of swords and like their trauma, like not exactly trauma of the past, but they both had the same master, and one of them just can't let go of their previous master as much. And the series follows him, like, kind of then going, at the end of it, kind of goes in the deep end of like danger But at the end of the series, he does realize he's wrong about some of his actions and that he needs to step away from his master as they are dead. And he needs to move on and live. So yeah, if you like Japanese history or are interested in swords, or if you've watched Hakuoki, you'll want to see this, because the main set of swords in here is Hichikata swords. Okita swords do appear in it as well. I don't know actually if they appear in this series, but Hanamaru, they appear in it. But that one's really good if you want something serious. I think it's Ufotable does the animation for it, so it's absolutely gorgeous. 19 is Evangelion. I don't think I need to say anything else other than it's iconic, mecha, depressing. So if you like that genre for psychological as well, like, just watch it. But please, start with the main series. And there's like 1,500 people that have already explained how to watch Eva. So just start from the beginning. Don't watch the new stuff. Start from the beginning and then go to the new stuff if you wish. To be fair, I think I'm just going to stick with the original. Because I really like the original. And I really don't know what's going on in the new stuff. Like, why are people being renamed? But whatever. That's a different discussion. On here we have another visual novel. This one's another Otome. Hiro no Kakura got animated. This one, once again, a 16-year-old girl, something like that, finds out that she's part of, or a descendant of, I think she's a descendant, or reincarnated of someone important. I forget exactly which. A specific princess, and she ends up going to her grandmother's place. I think it's grandmother's place, like in the middle of the countryside, and there she finds out that there's a specific set of things she has to do, but she ends up also being assigned 5 guys that are like her bodyguards effectively. But there's also an opposing faction that wants her for her power, so it deals with her like trying to live a high school life, because there's a high school there she goes to as well, while also trying to resolve these ancient family traditions. I say traditions, but ancient family ties, and try not to die at the end of the day, honestly. So this one's pretty neat, and it also focuses a lot on like Japanese lore stuff and very feudal Japan, so those two are things you like. I definitely suggest trying that out, because I think you'll probably like it. It's also, again, different from everything else. So, I mean, maybe it's just me being like, I like it because it's different. Because there's only so many slice of life animes I can watch of them going to high school, eating pizza, throwing it at each other's faces, and screaming at each other. Not actually throwing pizza, but you get the point. 21, I have My Hero Season 1 and 2, because I actually binged both of those. But everyone else pretty much knows what My Hero is, but so go look that one up. That one's really easy. You want a shonen series that's also kind of super power, like Marvel kind of stuff, this one's definitely good. I don't like Marvel, and even I thought this was interesting, so I feel like if someone like me who doesn't like Marvel enjoyed this, it's probably good then. Because, like, I'm not into superheroes, as you can see. Like, I'd rather have anime. Next thing on here is Fate Stay Night. I say start with Stay Night because that is the original anime that was made and is the main route for the game that is based off of. If you like, I can make a guide to watching Fate and talk about some of its lores. Let me know if that's of interest. Fate follows main guy Shiro, who's really an idiot. Biggest idiot in history. He accidentally gets pulled into what is called a Grail War, where it's these heroic, legendary people get resummoned into modern society as of like 2004 to fight for the legendary Holy Grail for the victor to gain a wish of some sort. And the servants, the heroic spirits, are tied to a master, and there's master servants together, each get a wish from the legendary Holy Grail if they are the victor of the Grail War. Next up we have Enu X Foku, which the anime I really enjoyed, but there was a lot of question marks about what the fudge was going on. and I needed more story, but obviously they're not going to animate more, so I have to go hunting for the manga, which is impossible to find. But it's about this girl that has like supernatural powers, and she ends up also being able to transform. Not like magical girl transformation, but she transformed into another kind of deity looking person, and she's got like horns and stuff. She ends up living in a special housing building that is meant for these people that have powers of spirits or like the other world or something like that's how they explained it. And there she's assigned a bodyguard, which actually everyone in that building's assigned a bodyguard, but the specific guy that gets assigned to her is someone that she saved a long time ago, but she doesn't know exactly when. So she's trying to figure that out and trying to get used to living in this new building. And she's come from a very strict family, so she's an extremely cold person on the outside and has to deal with her bodyguard being like a little puppy pretty much and constantly wanting her attention and for her to warm up to him. Which throughout the series you can watch it, her like kind of become more teenager-y? I don't really know how to explain it other than just instead of being cold, calculating kind of person, she becomes a little bit more happier and like open. Next up, Ton 24. I know this is going to get some funny looks probably, because people are not going to be happy about the visual novel it's based off of, but if you want a disgustingly cute anime that doesn't have 100% a plot, watch the Nekopara anime adaptation, which is a TV series. This introduced also a new cat girl that focuses on as well and just gives another strain of cute story. There's also a lot of comedy in here, and it's just great for if you're having a horrible time, because I mean, it's cats with cuteness, but it's also a little bit of slice of life, so mix it all up in the shaker and you get Nekopara. That was a horrible explanation. But they work in a cat cafe. You know what, the internet probably has already filled you in on what Nekopara is, so I'm just going to stop there. It's one of my favorites. I love Nekopara and was really excited about the anime, because there's also the old OVA that focuses more traditionally on the game. What the anime is about is not related to anything in a game story, so I really enjoy that too, of having a different set of story without exactly following something else. Okay, at 25 I have Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon Season 1, because that was specifically all that was out at the time when I binged it. But, and some of this series is technically geared towards guys, but oh my god, I love it. I really like the main character. I absolutely love Hestia. Oh wait, this is the wrong wall, but I have a human-sized wall scroll pro. But it is about the main guy, Bell, who travels to an adventurer town, and he's trying to follow his grandfather's words that he gave him, well, stories that he told him and like ways of life to live. And so there he's trying to join one of the familias, which is a group of people that a god has taken under them to become part of their family, and they get like a set amount of bonuses from living in this family. It's effectively like the video game stats with like extra bonuses, that kind of thing. So it follows Bell, and he ends up joining Hestia's family, which he's the first member, so together they're going to make a bigger familia and get more members and make the Hestia familia more prosperous, because at the moment she is dirt poor and they live in season 1 out of the bottom of a church. Coming in at 26, we have Kaike Bed Breakfast season 1. This one's an isekai. I believe it was made in the height of isekai technically, but I didn't hear anyone talk about this series, so I'd like to highlight it here because the season 1 just absolutely devoured me. Like, I could not stop that series. Which actually, I was really enjoying it so much. I need to get back to season 2, but season 1 I plowed right through it. It's got that mix of Studio Ghibli again in it with like the sprites kind of thing. If you've watched Spirited Away, think of Spirited Away, but a TV series about a girl that has to work at an inn like that and pay her grandfather's debts because he racked up a lot of them in the other world. And she ends up also being the ogre's bride, which she doesn't exactly want to be. So she's being really defiant, but as you watch in the show, she's obviously not doing a very good job of defying that. But we'll see what happens. There's a lot of mysteries about certain character backgrounds and why certain people know information about other people that they shouldn't. Next up we have Horimiya, which I'm sure was babbled about everywhere at some point. But this one I think is the most realistic about high school with teenage relationships and kind of some of the drama, but also most realistic about like having a romantic relationship. And it just follows the main pair, Hori and Miyamura, together through their high school days and also their school group. And this is like one of the few animes you actually start, I think, from the start of the school year, like freshman year, and it follows them up to senior and graduation. So I find that really unique that we can actually see them throughout the whole years, or at least a good chunk of them. Toilet Bound Hanago-kun, and I know is another popular one, but I really like this one because it's fun, and it also focuses on the Japanese lore of Hanako-san, so immediately that caught my eye, and I like the comedy in here a lot, but there's also a lot of neat mystery things going on in the background too that make it really engaging as well. So if you want something that's got spirits in it, check this one out. Another slice of life. This one's about Orimo. I know a lot of people don't like this one. And to be fair, I haven't gotten to season 2, but from what I've heard, I really don't care about that. But that's all I'm going to say, so I don't spoil it for anybody that hasn't watched it. But it's about the main guy's little sister is into the eroge game category, which translates to erotic game, pretty much, but she really likes these eroge visual novels, and she's got a favorite anime character that's a magical girl that she really likes as well, and there's a couple other anime she really likes. But she's a huge otaku, so there's that, but she's literally a closet fan, and the series follows as her brother tries to help her, like, come out of her shell a little bit, and also follows the two of them did not have a great relationship, but as the series progressed, they start to bond a little bit more and actually acknowledge each other's existence instead of like ignoring each other. Now we're down to the last 10 series. Woohoo! This is taking way too long. Next one I have up is another otome adaptation, and it is Libra of Neo Amorim. Mainly, this has been a while since I watched this. I watched this when it was brand spanking new, so I don't remember much about the plot other than the main girl has to like unravel a series of mysteries and ends up being part of actually the main plot that she's trying to unravel, or something like that. And it's a visual novel, so that's why I watched it. But it was really good with its mystery and kind of kept you on the edge, like every minute being like, what's gonna happen next? Next up I have 7 Deadly Sins, season 1 and 2. I found these really bingeable because they were, the shonen stuff was different, because I do enjoy shonen, I just don't talk about it as often. But I do also really like the comedy in it, and the characters really drew me in is what probably really did it for me. And I found it interesting with this one, like most shonen don't focus on other things other than mainly like beat up the other person kind of thing, but I found it interesting that 7 Deadly Sins actually, as it was progressing, started incorporating other things like love interests and like pairings and kind of setting it up for like far off future as well. So I thought it was interesting with its progression, like what was going on. I think it's up to like 4 or 5 seasons plus a couple movies. Next up is another personal favorite. It's called Gosek. It focuses on a boy named Kujo and a doll-like girl, Victorica, that he finds in the library one day where she's in the top of the tower. And most people just try to ignore her because they feel like she's cursed. There's a lot of mystery surrounding her. Kujo ends up befriending her. She's also a master detective, effectively, her brother sucks at being a detective, and he constantly comes to her with these details he's picked up and tells her what happened. And then she puts everything together and figures out, like, the culprit and stuff. There's also a lot of, like, kind of knee gripping or chair gripping scenes with, like, the first mini arc is, I forget where her and Kujo were supposed to be traveling to, but they're on a cruise ship that then gets hijacked. There ends up becoming a wild murderer effectively on the ship, and it's ends up being that they need to solve who's the murderer, but also not get themselves killed in the process. So if you like mystery series, this is definitely a good pick for you. If you don't like mystery and you get squeamish at the sight of blood, not that it happens crazy often like Attack on Titan, but just probably avoid this one if you don't want a really serious series. Now, if you don't want a serious series, you should check out Baka and Test, which is quotation slice of life in this other world where there's special schools that can, these students there can summon like these little avatars and like mock battle each other. And it also works by the grades that students have, put them into different classes. Students with the best grades go to class A, students with the worst grades go to class F. Students with class A get the nicest equipment ever, like they literally get like large sofas in their classrooms, high-end desktops, cameras, iPads, extra stuff, like there's like extremely fancy rugs, chairs, like there's literally a chandelier it shows in their classroom that's like really big. Could pass for being like part of a castle or something, the wallpaper. And then class F literally is broken chair, well, I should say broken tables. They get no chairs, they get these cushions to sit on the floor. And the tatami mats falling apart that they sit on every day. The chalkboard's also in a very sad state. And they don't really get extra supplies. But they can battle with the other classes and move up in rankings to get better equipment. But it follows class F and them trying to get to higher school supplies, which is interesting watching them do all sorts of silly shenanigans too. So it's really happy-go-lucky. So if you want something happy-go-lucky, watch that. Next up, I have Blue Exorcist, which I'm sure a lot of people have watched it, but by now it's also fallen off a lot of people's radars. But it follows Rin, who lives in an orphanage. I'm trying to remember. It's honestly been a while since I've watched this. I really love the series. I guess I should really rewatch it. I've been wanting to rewatch. But Rin has also a twin brother as well that's part of a super secret organization. Together they were raised by, I forget what his name is, but it was effectively like a father of the church that was like their adoptive father. But things happen. Rin can no longer live at the orphanage, and so he decides that in order to get revenge, he is going to become an exorcist, but that's like a select group of people that can do that, but he demands that he's going to do it anyways, effectively. And he joins the school to become an exorcist, and it follows his adventures there and dealing with his new lifestyle. But also there is some really rocky situations he gets into because of certain classmates' experiences that he is tied to indirectly, but also having to show people that he's not what he looks like. If that makes any sense. I'm trying to keep this vague for anyone that doesn't know Blue Exorcist, but it's good. Just watch it. That probably was not helpful. Next up, I have Disgaea anime. To be fair, I did not finish the game, but pretty much from what I can remember of the game and when I watched it like 4 times, it follows the game very faithfully, and so that's a good sign. The game is also not a visual novel. Well, it's got visual novel elements, but it's a turn tactics game. But the story follows Laharo, who's woken up from a long slumber and finds out the demon realm's all like in a bunch of pieces effectively, and he then declares he's going to become the new Demon Lord. Because his father also passed away while he was sleeping, I believe was one of the big shenanigans. And so his vassal, or like right-hand man effectively, now one of the higher ranking demons, ends up also assisting him as part of her job. And he ends up meeting an angel named Floan, who's trying to get him to like accept more love into his heart, but he's all like, no. But it follows the three of them together. Yes, Floan joins their party. Trying to take over the underworld again and like restore peace to it effectively. Peace. Next up we have Eden Zero. I really loved Fairy Tail, so maybe this is why it's in here, and it's in here at the moment because it's not ridiculously long. This is only one season, supposed to be getting a season 2 in early 2023, so I fingers crossed that they actually hold up on that, because I'd love to see a season 2 of it. But it's about this boy named Shiki, who literally looks like a Natsu with mixed gray, but he lives on this island full of machines. And Rebecca is a space traveler, and what they call B-Cuber, which is effectively like VTuber kind of thing. She goes to his island to vlog the place, so hopefully she can get more followers, but she ends up being Shiki, and a lot of stuff happens, but he ends up deciding to leave the planet with Rebecca, and together they explore the galaxy, and their overall main goal is they're trying to find this being called Mother, who made the universe. And Mother can grant whoever finds her any kind of wish, along with its like rebirth or something like that for the next life, or ensured good rebirth. I forget the exact wordings of that exact piece of the lore, but she's this legendary being that they're off on an adventure to find, but no one knows exactly where she is. So that's like the biggest stickler with that. And this series also, I thought was interesting. It has some really weird time jumps, because at the start of it, you meet like this girl that's like, oh, but that was like thousands of years ago. But she's talking about like what's going on with Shiki. That should have been like right now. And like midway through the series, you also see another clip where it shows a B-Cuber necklace that was found with a body of bones. And like they're like poor soul or something like that, no one buried you. And the body's with a guy, and I think they said a robot, which obviously insinuates the people with them, or with her, the main characters. So I don't know what's going on with the time jump, because like I thought they were all alive, but the next minute they're like dead, and now thousands of years ago. So there's some really weird time jumping, but I'm staying to see where this is going. Next up we have a older isekai, before isekai really became the whole like isekai. It is called Sengoku Nightblood. This is based off on another otome. This one's an app game, and it focuses on this girl that ends up going to another realm of Japan, effectively, where vampires run rampant, and her blood ends up being special that gives them like extra powers or something like that. So we have all these different vampire clans that are like fighting over her. Well, at least I wanted to kidnap her every 2 seconds. And some of them are like really morally gray. Well, not morally gray, but some of them I really don't like. There's a lot of strings being pulled in the background as well. I remember, that's about all I remember. I mean, I liked a lot of the characters. Admittedly, this has been a while since I've watched this series, so apologies about not remembering squat. And next up we have the Vision of Esen, which I can tell you about because I've watched this too many times. This is like one of the original isekais, one of many. This is like from the 90s. I think it was made in the 90s. It's an older series. I love it. Hitomi, the main girl, is someone that's always been really good with the Arcana cards, like the cards that can tell you your fortunes. And she has this amulet from her grandmother that she always keeps with her. The amulet's very important, that's why I mentioned it. And one day while she's running, she ends up seeing this guy appear out of thin air, literally thin air, and a giant dragon he's hunting. They just show up. And he ends up does slay it there and then. And I forget exactly how she ends up going to the other world with him. But that guy's Vaughn, which is the main guy. And he's Prince of the Realm over there. And it was his, like, coming of age ceremony, effectively, kind of ritual that he has to slay the dragon to show, like, age of some kind of thing. But they end up becoming friends, and throughout the series, she also trying to figure out a way home. She's looking for a way home and goes with him back to the kingdom. A lot of things happen at said kingdom they go to, so they end up leaving, and now they're kind of just exploring the world that she's on to find a new way for her to go home and a way for him to resolve the issues for his country. And there does also end up being a romantic relationship, and well, there's more like a romance triangle, because it gets a little messy. It's really good. One of my favorites. Another one that's really good, which this one's actually short enough that I can share in here, is Sarah's Celestial Legend. Yu Watase writes wonderful things. If you haven't seen Fushigi, or if you don't know of it, if you know Fushigi Yugi, this is the lady that did that series. And it is about twin siblings on their, like, 18th birthday, I think it is, end up unlocking a spell that then makes it so the girl is, like, forever being chased by her brother because of an old curse. And he, like, I think it's like he has to kill her or something like that. But he obviously doesn't want to kill her, and it shows it several times, like, the series, like, him fighting this other entity that's inside himself. But it follows their difficulties of having these other entities effectively in them now, with the curse being, like, broken. I'm probably quoting it a little wrong, but it's effectively the easiest way to summarize that feature of the show. But it follows that, and she's trying to find a way to break all of this, and ends up meeting a couple different people and joining an organization to hopefully solve all of what's happening at hand. And the last show to finish it off is a slice of life, Blue Spring Ride. Even though, yes, this is literally like every other slice of life, I felt like it was really good because it was also just realistic about, like, some of the changes between the characters between middle school and high school, which was a big focal point, but also showing that, like, you should be yourself, because the main girl is now in high school and she wants to put behind her middle school days, so she tries to be who she really isn't. But as the show explores and other people she meets kind of helps come out their shells, is like they really should just be themselves and not other people that they're not. So I thought that was interesting. That was the top 40 shows I picked that are easily bingeable between 1 and 2 days. Let me know if you've tried any of these series out. I'm interested to hear your opinion about these. I tried picking stuff that was at least different a little bit, but also things that I knew I absolutely loved and easily finished within that time frame. And happy anime watching!